Hey gang, welcome to Two Blokes from Down Under. I'm Simon Guthrie. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Ben Ennis. How are you, Benny?
Good, mate, and you?
Very well, thank you. Ben, Season 3 of Two Blokes from Down Under, the footy seasons, brought to us by Shepparton Volkswagen, the Goulburn Valley's #1 choice for new Volkswagen vehicles, plus the highest quality used cars, service and parts. Get in and see Ewan and his team at Shepparton Volkswagen, 325 to 329 Midland Highway, Shepparton. And Ben, this episode's brought to us by Shepparton Denture Clinic. With over 30 years' experience, you can rely on Brad and his team to fully understand the needs and what they can offer for you for the best possible denture solution. You can find them at 122 Archer Street, Shepparton, because healthy smiles leave a lasting impression. All right. Here we go, Ben. The footy season.
Footy season's off and running.
Pretty excited about this one.
Yeah.
All right. Our next guest started his football journey when he used to jump the back fence at his home and have a kick with his 4 older brothers at the Tallygaroopna Football Oval. From Kingupna to the Murray Bushrangers to the biggest AFL club in the country, the Collingwood Football Club. Known for one of the smoothest and silkiest skilled players in the competition, he reached the ultimate goal of any AFL player, where he was part of Collingwood's 2010 Premiership in only his second year. Now, in his 14th season, he's an All-Australian, multiple Copeland Trophy winner, was co-vice captain and came runner-up in the 2018 Brownlow Medal, and his list of achievements goes on. Welcome to Two Blokes from Down Under, Steele Sidebottom. Hey, Rusty, how are you, man?
Great, thanks for having me.
That's good.
It's a pleasure.
Rusty, tell us where it all began, mate.
Well, I mean, you touched on it briefly there, but for me, I guess it all started, my footy career really started back in Tally. Tally's only a little small town. As you said, grew up with 4 older brothers, mum and dad. I think there was, 300 people, and probably half of them were cousins. So, doesn't sound great over the phone. But so I guess for me, sport was a part of my life ever since I was put on this earth. Wanted to be just like my older brothers. They were always playing cricket, tennis, footy, whatever it was. So, I guess even now, like, sport's all I've ever done. I had a little job there just before I got drafted, but sport's been it for me. And it all started back in Tallygaroopna.
Jump the fence. You used to jump the fence, didn't you?
Used to jump the fence, the cricket nets, and we'd play golf on the footy oval, and then I think the bowling green now is over the back of the footy oval. So it gave most sports a bit of a crack.
Yeah, okay. You mentioned you got 4 older brothers. You're the youngest.
Yep.
Reel them off. Give them a bit of a shout out, because they were pretty influential to you.
Yeah.
Because you just wanted to be. Give them a shout.
Yeah. So oldest brother Trent. Trent's 10 years older than me. Trent still lives in Tally now. He's got 2 beautiful kids, Ali and Archie, and lovely wife, Georgie. Trent will never leave Tally. He's left Tally for a little bit, but he's always been a Tally man and always will be. Tice, he lives in Shep now. He's probably the brother that I'm the closest with, and probably the one bloke that I wanted to be like. I shared a room with him when I was growing up. I'd always tag along with Tice wherever he's going, and he was probably the role model for me sort of growing up. He's got a beautiful daughter, Summer, and then Josh, he's got 3 kids now. He's got LeBron, Nate, and Matisse, little girl, and his beautiful wife, Tiles, as well. So, Twig, he's in Tally as well. Same thing, he won't leave Tally now.
He's in Tally now.
He's in Tally now.
Yeah, okay.
They moved there probably... going to take us maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay. Good on him.
And he was working, he's just actually went to Laos, and he's working in Tally now as well. Josh lives there, and then Ryan, who's the one obviously oldest to me, he lives in England at the moment. He's just had a little girl, Cassie. His partner Tash, they're over here now. I'm getting married next week, so he's come over for that. He's over there playing cricket. He's been over there for probably 6 years, I think. And he loves it over there, and I can't see him moving home. So, that's me 4 older brothers.
Yeah, no.
It's a bit of a crew.
Fantastic. And they're all sportsmen. They're all sports mad. They're all nuts.
I'm tipping it would have been a pretty rowdy house.
Yes, there's plenty of punches thrown.
I was going to say.
Yeah, a lot going on, that's for sure.
Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah.
So where did you start playing competitive football?
Well, I guess the first actual footy team I was a part of was Northerners, which is like Tally. I think it was Tally and Gutner combined. Obviously, both only small towns and probably not enough to have a team on their own. So, our primary school was Tally and Gutner, and the Northerners. We used to wear the Kangaroos colours, the old woolen long sleeves back then. So, I guess I would have started in
Back then?
grade 2 or 3 probably is when I actually probably started playing properly. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And you went to school
Yep.
at Tally?
Yeah, went to school at Tally. Yep.
Yeah. And then secondary you went to
Wanganui. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
And then you moved to Kingutna, ventured down the road about 10 minutes to Kingutna.
Yeah.
And you played fourths there?
Yeah, played fourth. So I guess the reason I went to Kingutna, Tally only had under 18s at the time. So, went to Kingutna, and didn't ever leave Kingutna. But it's funny, sort of, I went to school at Wanganui and then dragged a heap of boys from Wanganui to Kingutna, and lucky enough I think it was 07 that we actually won a flag in the third. So
In thirds,
still, in the thirds there. So, spent all my time ever since. Well, I've never played for anyone else other than Kingutna, really, only the primary school. I played 2 permit games for Tally when I think I was probably 15, maybe. Me and Golly played. It was a game against Undira. They had 15 and we had 14, I reckon, on our team. And then, another one against Nagambie, and we got absolutely pumped. Good story. I was actually leaving Nagambie. Well, obviously Nagambie's on the way to Melbourne. Mum and that were picking me up, and just played thirds. And I think I was going to Melbourne for maybe a Vic Country training or something. And as I was leaving, the senior coach said, "You don't mind staying and playing seniors, do you?" I was like, "Nah, mate, I've got to go." So I nearly played 2 games for Tally in the one day, but Mum was pretty keen to get out of there.
How many games forced you play? You played something ridiculous.
I would have to have played 100, surely. I don't know the exact amount. I would actually love to find that out one day, but I would, probably nearly 100. Some towards the end of the fourths, I was doubling up and playing thirds as well. So, I played plenty of games at Kingutna.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't start thirds until you'd finished fourths, or you played a couple of games, but you'd
I reckon the last year of fourths, I was because Kingutna. Well, when I sort of was going through at Kingutna, the fourths were sort of always really strong, and then I feel like the fourths would go to Shep and play footy, and the thirds at Kingutna sort of dropped away a little bit. So numbers were pretty low there. Yeah. So there was probably a couple of us that would double up most weeks and play both. So
okay.
Yeah.
When did you make your senior debut for Kingutna?
It was against Numurkah. I reckon I don't know if I was 15 or 16, maybe 15. But I reckon 15 because I reckon 16 I played the whole year in the seniors. So, I think, obviously I was playing thirds. And I guess they thought that I was ready to have a crack in the seniors, and I was only probably 70 kilos, maybe ringing wet back then. I was only little, and so got picked. And I remember actually I went home that night and I rang Dad. Mum and Dad had split up by this stage, so I was living with Mum, and I rang Dad and said, "Dad, I'm going to be playing seniors this week." And surprising me still to this day, Dad was like, "Are you sure about that?" I thought Dad would have been, pumped, go for it. And he was almost questioning the decision. So,
just because you were so small.
So small, I think he was probably just worried about me getting me belted. Yeah. But it was against Numurkah at Numurkah, and I think we ended up losing by only a small margin. I think I kicked 1-3, I think. And I think I actually got quite upset after the game as well, because I thought it might have been half my fault that we lost.
A bit serious.
Exactly right. Little 15-year-old boy, buddy.
What position were you playing?
I would have just been playing half forward, I reckon. Just trying to stay out of trouble.
Yeah,
there was
too quick for everyone else to catch up. Yeah.
There was a bloke actually at Numurkah then, and he had tats all over him, and he played there for a long time. He was a good player, and me 15-year-old playing on this guy for tats. Fair to say I shit myself there for most of it.
Were you intimidated by like just the physical contact of it? Because you're going into a senior football.
Yeah.
Anyone who plays seniors, it's a big deal.
Yeah, well, that was probably my only concern. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's sort of with. I feel like if you're good enough, then
Yeah.
you're old enough in a way.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're not dumb enough to be running into, getting smacked or whatever that is.
Yeah.
But I guess that's it's a sort of something that I think even Mick Malthouse sort of had at Collingwood. It was like the age kind of thing was thrown out, and if you're good enough, then you're old enough. I mean, you can get hurt playing with people your own age, so it's probably, I was out there and probably smart enough to stay out of trouble, and I did that pretty well, I think.
Yeah, nimble enough anyway. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you ventured into all you mentioned before, like the squads and stuff like that. What did you play? Under 12s?
Vic? So the first one was under 12s, Vic. Can't even remember what year now off the top of my head. So it was under 12s. We went to Cairns and played in that little carnival thing, got billed out to a lovely family over there. And then there's sort of like a couple of year break. And then it goes to under 15s, which is, it's schoolboys first, which is like the sort of the under 15s bushies thing.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then from that, you get picked in the Vic country. Once it gets to 15, it's like Metro and country. It's not the one sort of Vic team from there. So under 15s was, we went to Darwin and played that. Another Shep boy, Matty Piano, who's in my wedding party this weekend still. He played in it with me. And then under 16s is Vic country again. That was in Brisbane. And then from that, I was lucky enough to get picked in like the AIS, which has sort of changed a little bit now. So I think there was, 30 blokes that got picked in that from obviously all around the country. And lucky enough there to spend 2.5 weeks, I think, in South Africa. They have I presume they still do have a national team. So we were playing against them. Well, clearly we're the best 15, 16-year-olds in Australia, and they probably don't play a lot of it, so fair to say we gave them a bit of a touch-up. But the whole experience to go over there and I guess see some of the living conditions and some of the places where we were lucky enough to travel sort of opened my eyes up a fair bit. That was 16s, and then my first year out of that I played as underage in the bushies, and played for Vic country in that, and then was lucky enough to make the All-Australian in that. And then as a bottom age, I guess from Bush Rangers is when I got drafted to Collingwood. And I think the rules have changed a bit now. I guess if I was the age I am now going in the draft, I would have had to have wait another year and played for Bushy. So I guess I was probably lucky in that sense.
You only just scraped in, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm on the 2nd of January, so potentially it could have been only a few days, but I think the cut-off point could have been maybe like April or something back then.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm pretty sure now you might even have to be 18. I'm not 100% on it, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. How was Bushies for you? Was it, obviously you're playing against the best kids around the country, like in Victoria as such, so was it a good experience?
Yeah, it was good. And I guess, there was probably 10 blokes from Shep, so obviously Bushies, everyone comes from all over the state almost. Well, not quite the state, but we used to train Wednesday nights over in Wang, so we'd finish school and jump on the bus just out the front of the showgrounds and all jump over and go train every Wednesday night over in Wang. And then Monday night was like local base, so we just trained at Rumballara here in Shep. But for me, it was just being a part of another team, and I guess that's why I sort of love footy. Well, I think I love it because I'm good at it as well, a little bit. But I love it, just like the team environment and stuff. And for me, that was a chance to meet like another 30 blokes. That was sort of something I look forward to every Wednesday night, getting on the bus and going over to Wang and training. We'd have dinner with everyone after it, and then would call through the Glenroe and Macca's on the way home and grab a pack of M&Ms or whatever it was for the way home. So I guess that year for me was probably when I probably really thought that I was a big chance to actually get drafted. Probably didn't have an outstanding year in the bushies, but the finals that I did have probably picked me where I went in the draft, I think. So
yeah, we'll get to your finals shortly.
Yeah.
So.
What are some of the names of the guys that you were in the bushies with?
Yeah. Jack Siebel was back then.
Yeah.
Sammy Wright, he's a caddy from Catamatite.
Yes, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jamison Daniels, who was a Shep boy, he spent a bit of time on Bulldogs list. Who else? I'm going to forget. Big Andy Brown. Spent a couple of years at Richmond. I'll probably forget some. Yeah, Tommy Rockcliffe, of course. Yeah. Tommy won the BNF the year that I was in it. Tommy was a gun. Probably, he broke his leg, I reckon, like a few years before the draft, and sort of never really had a pre-season, was never really that fit, but he was, like, I'm sure you would have seen him play. He finds a footy better than anyone. So he missed out on the draft, but then got picked up in the pre-season draft, I think, like in the first pick. But Tommy was another one. But
no Shep boys.
There was definitely Shep boys playing in it. Billy Hicks, who's another one of my close mates. Matty Piano, as I mentioned. Who else? A few Marupna boys. Riley Milne was in it back then. Jesse Finnan was in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
There was a few. There was actually a good little
good
crew that used to jump on the bus.
Yeah, I bet you'd love
that.
How hard was it in your younger, under 12s, and then you start to progress? How hard was it to get to training, like down to Melbourne and all that sort of stuff? Like,
well, I guess for me it was easy. I just jumped in the back seat. But for mum and dad, there's no doubt that it would have been hard for us to, and a lot of the times, like in Melbourne, we train at 8 o'clock or whatever. And growing up, we didn't have heaps of money, but like we never went without. We always got sort of what we wanted. So I guess, getting rooms in Melbourne the night before probably wasn't an option. So there were some early wake-ups for sure. For us, I reckon I used to just grab my doona and just go straight in the back seat and lay down and wake up when we're there. But Mum and Dad did some hard yards. Exactly. Yeah. And not only for me, like the other boys, they've got their sports as well. So I guess they just sort of shared the load a little bit. I'll say Mum definitely spent more time with me in the car than what Dad did, but they definitely would had to have shared the load, having 5 boys, probably at one stage playing for 5 different clubs as well makes it pretty hard. Yeah. So a lot of, like, when I played at Kingarten, I would never even be home on the weekend. I'd sort of get a lift with someone and then, back then go and stay the night at one of the boys' house, which I loved. They'd be on the farm or whatever, and, get home on a Sunday night. So, they were the under 14s and sort of thirds days at Kingarten. I really loved those days for sure.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big shout out to Mum and Dad there.
Yeah, exactly right.
What sort of age did you think, or did you know that, like, you're an absolute standout here? Did you actually have that thought, or think, I'm pretty good at this, eh?
Yeah. I've always been confident in my own ability. I guess actually when I, was thinking that, maybe I did have a chance was probably like, sort of around that under 16s time. When, that Brisbane Carnival, I ended up getting our best player for the Vic Country in the under 16. So, and then, going to the AIS, for me, it was like, well, there's 30 of the best footy players, my age that are in this room right now, and I'm one of them. So, I mean, surely I'm half a chance here. Yeah. But I guess there's, I was only 16 there. There's still a lot of water to go under the bridge then. So I guess around about that 16 years of age, I thought that potentially I was good enough. But yeah, you never know as well. Like, it's like with athletics and things. Like, I used to dominate at school and stuff, and then go to Melbourne and would just get like completely blown out of the water. So, yeah, playing footy at Kingupna and wherever is a lot different to, you know, going to play in Melbourne against, you know, all the private school boys or whatever it was. So, but yeah, I'll say like about 16, I thought that, yeah, potentially I was good enough to hopefully one day get drafted.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
How big an influence were your brothers on, like I read about before that you're one of the silkiest players in the game.
Yeah.
When you are, you're like unbelievable. I don't even know if you're a right foot or a left footer, to be honest.
I'm right footed. Yeah.
How influential were your brothers in teaching? Like, did they teach you? Said, like, who was the one who said, "Hey, kick on your left all the time," or is that just something you did on yourself? Or?
Yeah. Well, the story goes that Dad used to say that you can't have a kick unless you can kick on both feet. But it was almost like I just would constantly follow them around, like, and if they were doing it, then I was doing it. But Tice, who's probably, apart from me, I think the best one out of the other boys. Like I said, like, I used to just want to do what Tice was doing, and Tice is very good on both sides of his body as well, and you know, in his own right still goes all right. He's probably getting a little bit old now, but has been he's been a gun for, you know, the teams that he's played for, and I don't know, I don't recall, you know, anything that sort of sticks in my mind, but I guess I was just always practicing on it. And as I said, like all sports, like I was keen to give anything a go, and I guess footy's the one thing that sort of stuck with me, and we'd always have footies in the backyard, like whatever it was, like rolled up socks inside, whatever, kicking through the doors, whatever we could get our hands on.
Tackles, punch-ons inside.
Yeah. I think I was in grade 5 or 6, because Mum used to work at the Tally pub there for a while. It's no longer there, obviously, burnt down, but it was a Friday night, and on the Monday we had like Bike Ed Challenge back when they used to do it at like Decker, but then we must have won as a school, and we're going to Gippsland, I think, on the Monday for like the afternoon. And on the Friday night, I punched Josh in the hip, and Josh's nickname's Twiggy because he's just all skin and bone, and broke my knuckle, but not knowing until after the Bike Ed, like I could barely squeeze the brakes, but I still went along for it, and then found out when I got back that I'd broke that knuckle and was in a cast for probably 6 weeks, so I never hit Twiggy again after that.
Good old Twiggy, eh? All right, let's get to under 18s. How was it?
Yeah.
How was the grand final?
Yeah, grand final was pretty good. It's hard to explain. Like, well, the first actual possession I had of that game, I got done holding the ball. So I sort of thought, oh, maybe it's not going to be my day. But from then onwards, I literally could not do a thing wrong, really. It was just like anywhere I went, sort of the ball would come to me. And just whatever it was, I just almost just couldn't miss there. I think I had 9 goals straight there at one stage, and I think I had about 4 on my right and 4 on the left, whatever it was. So it was almost wherever it was, I was just putting them through. It was just I can't explain it. It was just one of those nights that just everything clicked for me, and it was a great place for it to happen. It was the TAC Cup Granny back then was before the VFL, so it was at Marvel, as it's called now. So there was a few people there, and obviously all the recruiters and whatever, and you know, potentially shot my name up a little bit higher than where I might have been in the draft.
Yeah.
Had you ever played at any of those stadiums before that?
I had during the Vic Country Carnival. We played at Marvel once before, but that was my second time, and a little bit better than the first time.
What does it feel like when you go into one of those stadiums for the first time?
For me, when I would say I'd go down to Melbourne and stuff, we used to drive across the Balti and stuff, and I used to look at what was Telstra back then, and would have the radio on with the footy, and I used to just like almost pitch myself in that stadium, and for me now to be, you know, living my dream out, it's, you know, I'm the luckiest person. I get paid to do what I love. It's not a job. And yeah, hopefully I've still got a few more years to go yet.
I think so.
Getting old, mate.
Yeah, I am getting old. I'm over 30 now. You know what the rule is, over 30.
Age is just a number.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, okay. So that 2008 season obviously was a cracker for you.
Yeah.
It made, like, that game obviously catapulted you way up the draft list because everyone's watching that game.
Yeah, exactly.
Like all the, because it's the last one.
Yep.
Who can handle the pressure and superb. So went into draft, got
Yep.
your name called out at number 11.
11, yeah. On the radio back then.
I was on the radio.
Yeah.
You weren't,
Yeah.
no TV, no nothing then.
No, it wasn't on the TV back then. No. And I think I might have been invited to go to the actual draft, which that's sort of they do now. But yeah, I wanted to stay home with the family and I guess enjoy it with them.
So you had all the family around? You had family, like friends?
Yeah, I
and
had
everything?
family. I'm like, yeah, just sitting at home. I can't remember who was there, but obviously mum and that were there. And I had Zachy Betson, who's still one of my good mates now. I can't remember whose party it was, but I was at Zach's. I was with Zach anyway that night before, and my manager rang me and said that if he said, well, that's another story. I didn't want to get a manager either. I was like,
about to say you got a manager already.
Already, that's what I was. Yeah,
Let's go
I was
back
like,
one step here.
the whole. I was like, I don't want a manager because if I get a manager and I don't get drafted, then I look like a dickhead. But he took me and Tice out for dinner at the GV, and he said to Tice he said, if Steele doesn't get drafted, I'll pay you 10 grand cash on the spot. So Tyson's were like, well, righto, that sounds good to me. And then, because he managed Marcus Drum, who played at Kingupna, Bo Muston, who used to live across the road from me. So I guess that was the reason, sort of, my connection to Paul.
Is he still your manager now?
He's still my manager now,
What's his name?
Paul Connors.
Oh, really? Okay. Biggest name there.
Yeah. So that he stayed, he must have, I don't know, he stayed in Shep, and then the next day I caught up with him again, and there was a few people who, wanted me to sign up with them, and I'd always said to him, I was like, I want to wait until the draft because I don't want to sign, and then I don't know if Paul forced me to do it or whatever, but I had to ring him up. I was in Paul's car. He definitely didn't force me because he'll get in trouble if I say that. But no, I just rang the others and said, look, I've made my decision. I'm going to sign with Paul. And for me then, that was like the hardest thing I'd ever have to do. Like, I'd never had someone, wanted me to sign up for them or anything. And for, a 17-year-old to tell someone no, but like, thank you it was quite hard. But I got a little bit sidetracked there. But that's how I got my manager. I can't remember what I was talking about before that.
We're talking about on the radio that your name got announced at number 11.
Oh, yeah, at home, number 11. Just at home, and then sort of, Mum didn't even have a house phone back then, so she just had a mobile phone. And maybe the recruiter rang first or whatever, but then Eddie Maguire rang Mum, and she thought, someone's taken the piss, and sort of half was like, yeah, of course it is. Who is it? But then, so pretty much as soon as I drafted, spoke to Mick, spoke to Eddie. Big Ant Rocker rang me as well. Probably a few others, I can't remember exactly. But, I guess it just from when my name got called out at number 11 on the Saturday, the recruiters had picked me up on the Sunday, and I was straight down to Melbourne. Yeah, that was it. And I guess the rest is sort of history. Yeah,
it's pretty quick.
Yeah, that's full on.
Yeah. So it's just the case. You get your name read out. All these blokes ring, and you go, "Who the hell's ringing me?" I don't know. They're all household names.
Yeah.
That are ringing you. Eddie Maguire's ringing you.
Yeah,
You're like, what
exactly
the hell?
right. What's going on here?
And then all of a sudden, did you think, I've made it? I'm here. Or did you think, holy shit?
Well, at then I don't think I had time to actually
think at all.
Yeah, think at all. Like that night, I know the boys might have been playing cricket at Kyala that day, so I went to Kyala and watched them play a little bit of cricket. I reckon the Shep News wanted to do like a photo or something, so did that, and then went to the pep mill and had a few beers with Dad and that. And then Mum had some family and stuff over that night, so like even that just went so fast. And then the next day the recruiters literally drove to Mum's house and said g'day to Mum. I packed my bags, and that was it. I'd moved into Williamstown with 3 or 4 of the other boys that just got drafted.
This goes to show how high quality they thought. Like Paul Connors to pick you up before you even drafted. It's
madness.
Like they obviously had.
Yeah, well, I guess for Paul, like Paul's had some, some big names, and I guess they've, well, I hope they've got a good eye for talent as well, and they've probably seen enough players go through to think, he's going to be all right or he's not. So,
wouldn't be in business if they weren't good at that.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly.
So, did you have other clubs approach you before the draft? Like, how many clubs come talk to you, and how does that process work?
Yeah, so probably throughout that whole Bushies year.
I start early.
Yeah, there's clubs that would come and visit at Mum's place, but then they have obviously the draft camp so the draft camp back then was in Canberra. So I think we'd won the granny actually for Bushies on the Friday night, and then draft camp was on the Tuesday. So I was probably still a little bit dusty on Tuesday. So I think it was 2 or 3 days in Canberra, and you literally get given like a timesheet, and it's like in between like testing and stuff, it's like, oh, you've got a meeting with them at 3:00, them at 3:30, and you just sort of make your way around and get as many as them done as you can. So that's sort of where you have most of the communications with club. Probably the only club I didn't speak to at draft camp, two. One was Essendon, who I was mad Bomber supporter growing up.
Oh, really?
All I want to do was ended up at Essendon.
Yeah.
And then, well, for me, being a shy little country boy as well, I had one more meeting before we were meant to fly out with Melbourne, and I just decided not to turn up to that one and got on the plane and got out of there. So I would have had, probably 15 or 16 meetings at draft camp, and then...
And you do that on your own?
Yeah,
with each one?
Yeah. Well, very intimidating. I
was going to say, that's no manager, no parents, nothing. Not even someone from the local club or Bushies or anything, just
and
you.
Probably like 4 or 5 recruiters, like coaches, assistant coaches. So literally little rooms like this, like me rocking up, sitting there shitting myself. And
is that process still the same? Sorry. Don't know.
I guess it'd still be similar, but it's almost like they put a little bit of
put a little bit of heat on handle the pressure too, I suppose.
Definitely. And I'm sure that's how they get a lot of their information.
Yeah.
But that was very intimidating. Yeah,
it's full on.
Yeah. And you were Collingwood's your first pick for Collingwood?
Yeah, first pick for Collingwood.
Because they were going all right then, so they're obviously pretty good to have that lower pick.
Yeah, so they 2007 they lost in the prelim. I don't know what they did in 2008 actually.
Hawthorn won that one, mate.
Yeah, so there you go. So maybe they
picked the Hawthorn supporter.
Oh wow! Yeah. Pack the bags, down we go.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of other boys in what, a unit or a house or something.
It was actually not. It was a nice house in Willie. Probably, I don't know, 500 meters from the beach. Like a 2-story old. Wasn't that old, but it was oldish.
Weren't all the same age, like 17, 18.
Yeah, all us boys.
Jesus Christ, did you live on Macca's or something? Or?
No, well, they used to have a bloke, Anthony Jackson, who used to live there with us. I guess he just got free rent and just had to keep an eye on.
Okay.
But there was obviously house rules and things like that. So, we lived there for the first 12 months. But that was great living there with 3 or 4 other 17, 18-year-olds. I only sort of actually stayed there for a bit, and then the rookie draft come along, and obviously we had plenty of picks, and we got enough players to fill 2 houses, so they got another house. Do you know Williamstown at all?
Not really.
Nah, so there's it's called the Strand, which is like pretty much along the water.
Yep.
And they got like a beautiful apartment, like 2-story thing that overlooked the water. And I moved into that with Jared Blair and Tristan Francis in that, probably sort of after the rookie draft, and spent a good year with those boys as well. So very lucky to be there. And I remember, we used to, we lived with a lady named Stacey then, and we used to love like going to the club would obviously pay for everything back then. Like grocery night, go there and just literally fill the trolley just full of, put the club credit card over and pay for the groceries. But no doubt we weren't paying for it, so probably went over the top a little bit there. But
no questions asked.
Yeah, exactly right. Play on.
What's it like as a young country shy kid, as you said,
Yeah,
and rocks into the club for the first time?
yeah, very intimidating, and I guess I was lucky in a way that there was 4 or 5 other boys, in the same position as what I was, but. I still sort of feel like I am quite shy around people that I don't know, but I feel like if I'm around people I know that I'm sweet.
Yeah.
So I guess, that sort of first, few weeks or whatever was, intimidating. And back then, things were probably a little bit different now. I remember I'd be walking past and, blokes would yell at your name and you'd turn around and no one would be looking, just taking the piss out of, the new blokes, making them fit right in. So I guess things like that's a bit of an icebreaker as well. But it was definitely hard, but something that I probably adapted to pretty quick. And I guess you sort of gravitate to people that are similar in the way you are.
Yeah. How was training? Because you're obviously an elite runner.
Yeah.
Because you went to draft camp, as you said. You got a 14.5 on a beep test, which was second, I think, then. I think one bloke bet you by 14.6, which is pretty good.
Take that.
That's pretty good. And you...
It wouldn't stand a chance these days, I think.
And you were second in the 3K time trial as well.
In my race, I might have been second, yeah. There was a couple going on, yeah.
The one in front was Dan Hanbury. Went on to have a pretty good career.
Yeah.
How was it when you actually got to pre-season? You thought, I'm a pretty good runner here.
Yeah.
Did you fit straight in? Or because a lot of blokes thought they were fit and then got to pre-season and then like, holy shit, this is hard.
Yeah, hard. Well, I guess for me that like sort of long distance and things had always sort of been my one wood. I could always run. So the first thing we did when I got to Collingwood was a 2K. And I've since changed tactics now, but back then I reckon I just went out as hard as I could almost and just held on. I didn't win. I might have come about 4th or 5th maybe, my very first one. A few of the boys sort of overtook me towards the end, but I get like anything. Like you see someone do something well and it's like, oh shit, maybe this kid, he's all right or whatever that. So like first impressions I think are big. So for me that was probably a good thing to be able to do that straight up. Someone who can run, do the 2K straight up. But it didn't take me long, and there wasn't too many passing me after that.
He's onto it.
How do you go now in them?
Well, we haven't done one for the last few years. We've gone to a new test, but I haven't been out of the top 5 definitely since I've been there, and potentially not the top 3 either.
That's fair effort.
Yeah. From what I know, I still hold the record at Collingwood. So
built for speed, mate.
Yeah, well, not speed. I can just sort of stick at that one pace and just hold on. Yeah,
pretty cool.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
How was Mick Malthouse when you got there? Like, he's a pretty intimidating sort of dude.
Yeah, big time.
Like, especially for a 17-year-old.
Yeah,
pretty intimidating.
Yeah, and and would be the same for you guys when you see Mick. He's on TV and he's just either won or lost a game of footy, so he's high with emotion and can get quite nasty probably at times. But well, just like even like things like training and stuff. Like when Mick's around there, it was sort of like hard to relax at times because
he's pretty intense.
Yeah, like you didn't want to fuck anything up. Like you know, like kicking and stuff. You wouldn't be sort of you couldn't almost relax, like, and you're sort of on edge those first few weeks and trying not to make mistakes, and that's usually when you are making the mistake. So I mean that's all about sort of getting used to the environment you're in. There's always someone watching at the footy club now, so I guess that's something that you just got to deal with, and some blokes can deal with it and some guys can't. But Mick was I had 3 years with Mick. He was he was awesome. He was so great. I think the Mick Malthouse people see on TV is that hit one side of Mick, but like Mick with his boys, as he said, he would do anything for his boys, and you talk about and he usually would say this, like if you see someone walking across the other side and you really like them, you'll cross the street and you'll go and say g'day, or see someone you might wave, whatever. Mick's definitely someone that I'll, cross the road for. And
yeah, okay.
I would hope, I had a great relationship with Mick, and I would hope, and I'm sure he would say the same about me. But yeah, I feel like, well, not all of these players, not all the people that have played under Mick would have that same thing. But yeah, I used to love being coached by Mick, and me being 17 as well probably taught me a lot of about life. And there was a few times where maybe I overstepped the line and he pulled me back into place. But I guess that's sort of part of being a coach as well. Like there's Steele Sidebottom, the footballer, and then there's obviously Steele Sidebottom away from the footy club. And I spend all my time at the footy club, and I guess you're shaped a lot by the people that are at the footy club. So
well, we get down to Melbourne, we meet the captain. And we get in his Lexus and we're driving around. And all of a sudden he goes, I've just got to go into this little back alley here.
Just stop for a minute.
Yeah. What do you mean? Like, I just got to make a quick stop. Tell us what happened. If people don't know, it's on YouTube. So, but go through the story. Like 17 we are here. Like, it's quite funny. But tell us the story, what happened there.
So I thought I was going to like a catering group function thing just with Maxie to go and speak to him, do whatever. So it's like looking back on it now, there's so many red flags. You think, how don't you pick up? But I was oblivious to everything. So at the time, our media manager, he drove me and we met Maxie at a servo and he's like, oh, Maxie's beating us here, just jump into his car. So I jump into Maxie's car. I'd seen him that day. I'd been at training with him. He had a different shirt on, clearly to hide the bloody microphones and shit in the back, whatever he's got. And then there was a guy in the back who I guess he was like recording it, like voice. He's like, oh, this is my brother-in-law. He's coming along, blah, blah, blah. And he was in the Lexus, and like all Lexus have got like the built-in GPS thing. And he had this thing sitting on top, which I was like, is that a camera? And I was like right up to it. It was like, he's like, oh, no, that's just because that GPS doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. I've just got this one in case. So I was like, well, yeah, whatever. Like, and then, he says, oh, I've just got to make a quick stop. And he pulls down the other and, reverses out. And I was starting to think what's going on here a little bit. And he's like, Steele, can you just jump out? I need you to give me a hand. And I was like, righto. So, I jump out, and like about 6 dodgy blokes, might have been a couple of girls there as well, come out and start asking Maxie for all this gear. And he's like, what do you got for us this time, Maxie? And he's like, I've always got the best for you, whatever it was. And so I'm standing there and, they're asking me questions. Oh, you a player? And I was like, yeah. Funny story, I don't think they got, well, it's definitely not in the video. It was like a 2005 team photo. And one of them was like, he's like, who's that? And I'm like, I don't know, Dale Thomas, for example. He's like, just sign it with your left hand. I'm like forging signatures with my left hand of people I don't even know. So just totally just not right. And then Maxie's phone rings and he's like, Steele, I've got to take this. Just watch them, they're dodgy. And I was like, you're kidding, aren't you? Like, you're leaving me with these people I've never met. And then so I'm standing there trying to half guard his car. Still, when you watch it, you'll see I've got this big team photo thing in my hands. They start going through his bag, and I start shitting myself even more.
They went through his personal bag.
Like going through his bag, was in his back. I don't know if they found his wallet, but they had his shoes, and I was like, you can't take those. And then one of the bloke offers me $50 for me thongs, or $100 for me thongs. Thinking back, I should have taken that for sure. And then,
I'm surprised you didn't.
Yeah, actually. I know. Looking back on it, I wish I'd just ran off with the rest of them. But the cops come, undercover cop car comes, and the siren's going, and I literally freeze, like frozen, do not know what to do, and I'm there on my own by this stage because they're all bolted off. Maxie's gone on the phone, and they come over and ask a few questions, and I throw Maxie straight under the bus. Yeah. I was like, I'm just here with Maxie. I've got nothing to do with it. And then, he comes over and does a bit of sweet talking, and you know, he offers for me to take the cop's mother out for dinner. She's a Carlton supporter. And then, I guess there was sort of little inklings when that started happening, and then that's when Pete Halley walked out in his police costume, and that's when I clicked on.
It's quite funny. If you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube, so you can...
Yeah, it gets played every few years at the Footy Club, I reckon. Yeah, definitely.
I actually think it's on the Footy Club's website, I think, as well. So,
well, and it's, as you said, I've been there 14 years, and I still haven't got Maxi back, so...
I was just thinking, you've been there a while now. It might be time for you to stitch up another young bloke.
Yeah.
Nah, I'll leave the young bloke. I want to get Maxi.
Right. Is he still there? Or
he's not. He's just left like halfway through last year.
Yeah, okay.
But that's fine. That's fine. I'd still love to stitch him up somehow.
Still can't believe you didn't sell your thongs for $100.
Yeah, I would have tied us.
They were only probably $20 back then too.
Yeah, definitely were.
All right, 2009 season rolls around, and you play your first game in round 7 against St Kilda, and you got belted by 88 points.
Yeah.
How was it? How was the experience?
Well, it was actually emergency up until like Monday, because that was a Monday night game against the Saints, and I was emergency until probably like 2 o'clock that day.
Oh, really?
Which was probably a little bit of a blessing in a way. I didn't really have time to get nervous or anything like that. I think it was Leon at the time pulled out with sore ankle or whatever. So, I got the call up. Against the Saints. It's a little bit of a blur. I remember a little bit of it, but I thought I did okay. But, as you said, we got pumped by about 70 points. And, it took me a few weeks to get a win and hit the scoreboard for the first time. But I guess it was the start, it almost didn't really matter how it went too much. It was, giving me a little bit of a taste for it. And, I thought I did okay. Yeah.
So when we mentioned before, when you first went to senior football as a young kid, and you're a little bit intimidated, was it the same feeling? Like you think, geez, hang on, I'm the best of the best here. Like we're playing against the best in the country.
Probably not. Probably a little bit different. Like it was round 7, and I'd been playing VFL as well, which is full of men, just like what we were playing. And I was clearly training with all these guys, and I guess by round 7 as well, I was like, why am I playing yet? Like all I wanted to do was be playing in the seniors. So, I don't recall. Like I was. There's no doubt I would have been shit myself, but like I wasn't worried about going out there, and probably neither was when I was 15, worried about going out there and getting split or anything like that.
Yeah.
But there, no doubt there would have been nerves there, but
bit of a blur.
Definitely a bit of a blur. Yeah.
How were your VFL games before that?
Well, not like I wasn't no standout, which probably hence why I wasn't playing. And to that point, like I think I played probably 8 or 9 games, and like would have 12 touches or something. Like wasn't setting the world on fire. And we played Sydney, and we got beaten. And I actually got told to play on Brett Kirk, which is staggering why they sent me to him in the third quarter. And I quickly got moved off him, way too strong for me. And didn't play well and got dropped after that game. I remember I was actually back in Shet when Brad Scott, who was the assistant at the time, rang me and said, I was going to be dropped, and probably fair enough at that stage. And there was clearly still plenty of footy to be played that year. And his words to me were, you need to dominate the VFL to get back into this footy team, because as you said, we were going all right at that stage. And luckily enough for me, I sort of went back to VFL and probably did start to dominate a little bit and played, some good footy. And luckily enough, our first final was against St Kilda, and I got picked for the first final. And I don't know, lucky or whatever you call it, I've never had to play VFL since. So hopefully I'll never do. But I'm sure there might be some stage where I've got to go back there and play.
So you had a standout game that year too, didn't you? In the semi-final?
Yeah, semi-final. That was, and like at the time for me, I think we were down by about 6 goals to Adelaide in that game. And then, after half time, we come out and it was when Jack Anthony kicked that goal sort of right near the siren, and I think had like 25 touches and 10 tackles, which to this day is probably staggering, me having 10 tackles. But back then as well, you used to get, I think it must have been Saturday nights, you got like a brand new tally for getting best on.
Yeah.
And I didn't end up getting the TV that night. I had to wait a little bit longer. But that night was, I remember getting interviewed after the game, and I was like, well, how can it get any better than this? Like, we've just won a final, come from behind, and I soon worked out it was going to get better than that, for sure.
Yeah. You went on to get, I think he's lost in the
prelim, yeah.
Did you?
I think we got pumped by Geelong the next week.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So then you go into another pre-season.
Yeah.
Actually, before we get there, what'd you do on your at the end of first year, what'd you do other than drink 10 million stubbies?
Yeah. It's the one and only footy trip I've ever been on, actually. Really? Yeah. We all went to Airlie Beach. How many people? Probably there might have been like 25. Just stayed at the Backpackers there, and it was almost, I think it was all, pay to get on, and then once you're there, like, everything's included, like, go your hardest sort of thing. So, went to Airlie Beach, and,
Why is that the only
the
one
old saying, you don't talk about footy trips.
What happens on footy trips?
Why is that the only one you've ever been on?
Well, in terms of, like, sort of, like, club organised, like, don't know, like, just sort of never really been a thing at Collingwood for me, I guess. Like, sort of, some guys will go in different places, but as an actual footy trip, like, I've been on plenty of trips with the boys, but that was probably like the actual one footy trip that I went on to Airlie Beach. It's, like, there's 45, well, there is not quite now, but back then there's 45 blokes, and you're not best friends with everyone.
Yeah.
And there's different sort of groups that form, and some go this way, some go that way. So by the time the sort of season finishes, some guys want to get away from everyone probably and sort of do their own things. But in terms of actual footy trips, that's the only one I went on to Airlie Beach.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then we roll around into 2010. We don't miss a game that year, do we?
No, we don't.
Played every game.
Yep.
How was that?
Oh, clearly it was unbelievable.
Up and about that year.
Yeah, for sure. And back then we used to do like the Arizona and trips and things like that. Pre-season camp. So even to just sort of experience something like that, like, the only time I'd ever travelled then was probably to South Africa as like a 15-year-old, and to go over to the States and, experience that. I think I probably went on 3 or 4 like pre-season camps over to the States, and they're not that enjoyable. You're definitely over there to work.
A lot of hard work.
Yeah, a lot of hard work, but you get to experience, something that I hadn't clearly experienced before, and I guess there was sort of a big song and dance about those sort of pre-season trips back then, but I think since there's been sort of studies that have shown that, being over at the altitude when you're not at your peak probably doesn't give you sort of that, edge you're looking for. But the club even had like a altitude room at the footy club that, you'd spend a lot of time in as well. But I guess the spending that clubs are allowed to do now is like there's a soft cap now, so you can only spend so much. And back then, Collingwood, being the big club they are, would do what they needed to do to win flags. And I guess you could say that that's potentially in that 2011, 10 and 11 sort of seasons, why we were good, because I think back then we definitely would have had the best facilities and things like that. So
helps, doesn't it?
It definitely helps, but it's like it's sort of hard. Like if I really sat back and thought about it, like sort of things would come to mind, but like sort of like off the top of my head, like sort of throughout the year, like I just feel like that was like we would go into games and like would know that we're not going to get beaten. Like in that 2010 and 11, like we'd go into games and be like, there's no way we're going to lose. Like we're so much better than these guys. And it's a very good place to be in as a footy team, that's for sure.
How was grand final week in the lead up? Like, we've made a grand final, and we're like, holy shit, we're in the big dance here.
Yeah.
How's that as a lead up? Like, because not many people get to experience that. So
well, I guess it's like the prelim for us against the Cats was like we were up by like 50 points before sort of half time. Like we started that game on fire, and people say that the prelims are like louder than the actual grannies because there's a lot of corporates and things that go that aren't actually supporters of the two teams. So that game was off its head, that Geelong game, and I mean it was sort of done by half time. Like we weren't going to lose that game, and you can't sort of help but let your mind wander and think of what's coming. But I guess the support that the Collingwood fans give, like we'd go to training and there'd be thousands of people just at training, like literally security. So you'd walk through and it's almost unbelievable. I think it, like even like this year, like we have open training sessions and things like that, and the support that I can only speak for what the Collingwood fans do, but it's it's unbelievable. And it's what, like even like COVID when we were playing in front of no crowds, like I'd rather play for Tally with crowds and playing at the G with no one there. Sure.
So you go into that final, you get, and like it's a historic final now.
Yeah.
It's a 10 drawn grand final.
Yeah.
Like that's got to be hard.
Yeah.
What's the feeling?
For me, probably different to a lot of others. Like, I was still young and naive, and at that stage, I just thought that was the normal. Like that first year, I played in a prelim, and I was just played in a grand final, which had ended in a draw. I remember a lot of guys sort of laying on the ground, and at that stage, not everyone knew what was actually going to happen. Are we going to come back next week? Are we playing extra time? There was a lot of sort of questions being asked, but I don't know. Like for me, I was like, I don't think I was ever disappointed. Like we hadn't lost.
Yeah.
And it probably because obviously there's like grand final dinners and all that kind of stuff that are all organised. So we still attended all those on the drawn grand final. All friends and family, and probably players that weren't playing were pissed and potentially could have had a chance to play next week because we'd just come and draw.
Yeah.
So I think the story has it that I think Tarkin Lockyer and Tyson Goldsack, who ended up playing the next week, were literally as soon as the siren went, like, because we are walking distance from the G, like ran back to the club, jumped straight on the treadie, and we're like, I'm a chance to play in another grand final next week. And the rooms actually got flooded out with like sewage as well. So
was that your room or St Kilda's?
That was ours.
Or yours?
Oh, well, it would have been both because they're literally like right beside each other.
Yeah, okay.
And so we went and used like, I don't know, one of the older rooms over the other side. So didn't have our bags or anything. And then, just like made our way back over the club, did recovery and went to this function. And then I guess it was just business as usual. Like we were ready to go again. And obviously we didn't have like the grand final parade and things like that. Like none of that was there again. But I think for us, we probably handled it a little bit better than what they did. And it probably showed the next week.
They threw everything at you. Like if they didn't get up that day, they weren't going to win it.
Yeah. And like potentially if there was extra time, then they might have run over top of us because they were coming hot. And, we had a little lead there, and they were definitely coming hot. That's for sure.
So you go into next week. You kicked the goal neck the following week, didn't you?
I did. I kicked 2.
Actually.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You
got
missed
that
one,
wrong,
didn't
I? I just remember the goal you kicked in the pocket over the far side, and I've got a photo of it at home. You got the crowd in the background, and you running through. It was a pretty cool photo. It was in the Shep News, I reckon. Too, so.
I definitely still remember that one. That's for sure.
Yeah. So the siren goes. How's the feeling then? This is the norm. I do this every year. Like, what's everyone on
But
about?
it's like seriously, and similar to sort of the prelim, like we'd won the game a long way from actually the sort of the last siren. So there was probably a little bit of time to actually, take it all in a little bit, which, me being 31 now, and if I could go back to when I was 19, I would take a lot more in, that's for sure. That's probably for latest discussion. But yeah, I just, I remember Dids had the ball, I think, and just found whoever was closest to me and just launched at him. And it's something that can, can't be replaced. Like they talk about, bottling up feelings and being able to take a sip out of it whenever you feel like it.
Yeah.
If you could do that, well, then that's the moments that you'd be doing it from. So it was the one thing that sticks out for me the most about the whole thing probably was just like once we got our medals and all that, like just walking around the boundary and like the crowd, just mad, like wanted to be with you, like wanted to touch you, wanted to cuddle you, like just looking at everyone, how happy it made them as well, like was something that sticks with me forever. Like that was the one thing I thought, fuck, like how good is this? Like, I'm one of 22 on this field. There's 100,000 people there, and they potentially they want to be me right now.
That's right. Yeah.
I wish I had a chance to go back and sort of smell the roses a little bit more.
Yeah. Did you see the family when you're doing your lap? Did you get to see
I did.
them?
Yeah, I actually knew where Trent and that was sitting. A little bit like I just remember like seeing like random people that I'd know and be like, it was like I was best mates with them because I was so pumped. They were pumped.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were sitting in like the pocket. It was unreal. And I remember actually walking down the race and you turn in to go right into the rooms and I seen Tyson Trent there and just, ran over them and gave them a huge cuddle and, just being able to share it with them as well, who, they were a part of it as well.
Yeah.
They'd put in, a lot of work for me as well. So, to share it with friends and family as well is sort of what it's all about really as well. Yeah. It's not just sort of, I don't just rock up and get that. There's a lot of people that sort of help me get to where I am.
It's unfortunate though that only 22 get the medal, because the whole club is a part of it, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Water
right.
boys, trainers, everyone's a part.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we do like so good now at the footy club is like it's literally like it is one club. Like there's times maybe early days where it's it's the footy players are sort of put on a bit of a pedestal and. I'm not. Everything does still get done for the footy players. Like we are so lucky. Like we don't have to lift a finger if we don't need to. But like, I feel like now we're so much better of like bringing everyone in and making everyone feel a part of it. And I feel like that was why we were actually quite successful this year, is because we were just felt like a really tight knit group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. How was the after party on that one, mate?
Yeah.
It would have been dusty for a couple of weeks.
I was, and that's like another thing. Like I wish I just didn't really even drink, really. Like I
can't take it in as much.
Yeah, like you get a little bit pissy and then probably you forget about things and get carried away. Like, if I do it again, I'll be on the lights. That's for sure. I'll be trying to take it all in and just enjoying it.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Which every young kid's dream really is to play in an AFL Grand Final, and you've done it at the age of 19.
Yeah.
Which is unbelievable, really, isn't it? So,
yeah, it is. And, I still pinch myself now, really. And I get so jealous of the other teams that are playing when I'm not now, too. It's, it's shit to watch, that's for sure. Yeah.
How was the relationship with Eddie Maguire? Like, 'cause obviously he's very influential, massive part of that club, and still is, to be honest, even though he's not president.
Yeah.
How was your relationship with him?
Yeah, really good. And probably the older I got, better, the stronger the relationship got. Eddie's like, he's just like, he will do anything for, if you're in Eddie's corner, like he will do anything for you. And he'd have a long, he'd love to go through his contacts on his phone. If he wanted to play golf somewhere or you just message Eddie and Eddie will get you some, like whatever you wanted. Like if you were in LA or something and you wanted to go to a nightclub, you'd almost just ring Eddie and he'd be like, oh, I'll sort you out. Like he would help you out as much, as much as he could. And then, I've stuffed up a few times since I've been there, and that's part of life. And I wish I never done them, but I did. But when sort of things aren't going well, that's sort of when you see not the true side, but like the side that really sort of sticks with you. And there was probably a few times where I misbehaved and done the wrong thing, but the support that not only from Eddie but from the whole footy club, it sort of it takes you back a little bit. Like it actually makes you feel like you are a part of a family. And he's just like the footy club's not the footy club without Eddie Maguire at the moment. Like he pretty much picked him up off the ground, really. Like they were really struggling, and the amount of work that he did for the footy club was like by far more than anyone. And to sort of see how it all ended was probably a little bit disappointing. To see someone who would put so much into a footy club, and sort of see the way it ended. It was a little bit sad, but I guess like anything, life goes on. And Eddie's still a huge Collingwood supporter. And
does he still come to the club?
He hasn't been into the club since he's left, and
really?
Hopefully one day that'll change. But obviously he still goes to the games and things like that. But in terms of he could have been. I haven't seen him inside the footy club since he hasn't been president. But a huge Collingwood person, and someone that I'm like very fortunate enough to have met as well. And he's a really good fella.
Do you still talk to him, or you still
occasionally? A few text messages here and there. But I guess he's. I'm sure that if you ever gave Eddie a ring, he'd answer your call, and help out if he could. So
they say he's very generous, and he's very family orientated. And I did hear Mason Cox talk about it, that because he's American, he doesn't spends Christmas. He hasn't got any family over here or anything like that.
Yeah,
he goes to Eddie's every Christmas for Christmas lunch and
well, there you go.
That. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty special that he does stuff like that. So,
for sure.
I'm going to touch on it because you mentioned it, that you stuffed up a few times.
Yeah.
The pressure that you guys are under, and I suppose most people don't understand that, but you're in the public eye constantly. How is that pressure? Like when because when I was 18, 20, 21, 28, I was still going out. I'd still get on the piss and I'd do what I want, sort of thing. But it's hard for you guys. You're in that eye all the time.
Yeah. It is and it isn't. Like, I guess I look at it as like I'm so fortunate to have, the job that I have. Like for me not to, go out in the piss and have that extra 5 beers or whatever. Like it's not a huge ask.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you're in the moment, like it's hard not to have those 5 beers. But I guess now more so than ever, like, I don't go out to nightclubs and things like that anymore.
'Cause you're getting old.
I'm getting old, exactly. I've got a daughter and I'm about to get married for one. But I guess like everything's watched. Like you can't really stuff up anymore because as I found out, you end up in the paper and I think I was all right with that, but then it's like, mum's got to open the paper and see her son over the front page of the Herald Sun, and you let your teammates down. Like the footy clubs, then it was like through COVID, and like we were actually lucky to be playing footy during that. Like the whole country was nearly shut down, but footy was like the only thing still going. And for me to go out and break the rules and stuff up was it was shit house. But
are we talking about the 7 o'clock?
When I got found, pretty much nude with a vest wrapped around my waist.
Can you Can you tell us what that was about?
Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah, I can tell you what happened. We just played GWS, and yeah, we lost. Howie just fucked his knee like bad, potentially out for the rest of the year. And we we just flown into Melbourne on the way home on the Saturday morning, and almost literally just made eye contact with Howie and was just like, "Do you want to have a beer?" And he obliged. And so, I ended up going to Howie's place that afternoon and, clearly had too much to drink and, ended up at Daniel Wells's house and had more to drink. Like, we weren't even allowed to be in Ubers or anything like that. Like, so I was in an Uber from Howie's to there and, literally, like, don't remember leaving Howie's house, which is a worrying sign in itself that I'd probably had enough. Like I was saying, like, why did I have that fight? Well, in that moment, I didn't even think about that. So, and just got found like at 7 o'clock in the morning. Didn't know where I was. Clearly, I didn't have my phone on me. Didn't have my wallet. Didn't have any pockets. No pants on.
Do you remember how you got naked?
I don't remember. I literally do not remember a thing. From leaving Howie's house to being in the back of a police car is it's all.
It's a blur.
It's it's not even a blur because a blur is you could probably pick up bits and pieces from here, but I literally don't remember. And like I was saying, the pressure on the family. I got home and I think it was 8 o'clock, and because I had nothing on, they put me in a morph suit thing just to cover me up, basically. And I rock up and knock on the door because I didn't have a key to get in, and Alicia's brother was living with us at the time, and he opened the door and seen me, and then there was 2 cops behind me, and his missus Bessie rang Alicia because she was at the supermarket and said you better come home, the cops are here. And that's all she said to Alicia on the phone. So Alicia's driving home thinking he's being killed or something, and then so she comes home and sees that I'm there, and I'm sure she's relieved for 5 seconds, and then I was fine out of it. I wasn't fine, I was fucking embarrassed of what happened, and I've let a lot of people down. But as I said, for your family and the footy club to all have to deal with shit again, which things were already under a lot of stress with COVID and all that kind of things. It's just it's something that didn't need to happen, and
it is a shame though. If you put it into perspective, here's 2 years ago, so you were 29, 28, whatever you were. 28-year-old, he's gone out in the piss with his mates. He's tried to console his teammate as such. Had too many. Makes a back page. Makes everything possible. And we're in the worst part of the world we've ever been in, and it still makes the news. It's crazy.
Media is crazy.
I get what you think. I went in what you say. I've let people down and all that sort of stuff. But in reality, if I had done that, and the cops picked me up, who gives a shit?
And that's literally every person every bloke that I spoke to said, he's mate, I used to do that every weekend.
Yeah.
I
probably would have had pants and a shirt on.
Well, clearly I should have.
What's the process after that?
Bring the footy manager, Jeff Walsh at the time.
Did you have a sleep first or?
Well, potentially, I can't really remember that. But Howie actually come around that day and dropped I think he went to Wellsies and picked up all my stuff and dropped it off, and he reckons that I was still pissed when he got there because I mustn't have been to bed and was sort of half joking about it, not realising actually what had happened. And then I think I must have had a sleep and it hit home what I'd actually done. So, clearly had to let the AFL know, and there was going to be a punishment handed down. I ended up getting a suspended fine from the footy club. Had to do a few things, and then I got suspended for 4 games, which is the worst bit, clearly, having to miss footy. But we were just about to leave for Sydney because everyone had to get out of Melbourne at that stage as well to go to like the hubs. And because I'd been in a cop car and I'd been in an Uber, all this kind of stuff, then COVID and stuff, like I had to keep my distance for 2 weeks. So I had to stay at home for 2 weeks, and which made things even worse, like not being it go in and front up. And then, obviously copped my whack and, went over to Perth and had to quarantine in like literally a room like this for 5 days. And then the boys got there on the 5th day and I was allowed to join the rest of the boys then. And that's sort of where I explained to them what happened and apologised, all that kind of stuff. And I guess almost put it behind us and moved on a little bit, Yeah.
Wowzers.
Didn't see that one coming, did you?
It's a big punishment for going out and having a few beers. But I suppose that is what you do, though, isn't it? So
exactly.
All right, let's give a shout out to sponsors again. So season 3 of Two Blokes from Down Under, the footy season's brought to us by Shepparton Volkswagen, the Golden Valley's #1 choice for the new Volkswagen vehicles, plus the highest quality used cars, service and parts. Get in and see Ewan and the team at Shepparton Volkswagen, 325 to 329 Midland Highway, Shepparton. And this episode's brought to us by Shepparton Denture Clinic. With over 30 years' experience, you can rely on Brad and his team to fully understand your needs and what they can offer you for the best possible denture solutions. You can find them at 122 Archer Street, Shepparton, because healthy smiles leave a lasting impression. All right, Russ, so 2011 was the last year with Mick Malthouse.
Yeah.
And Nathan Buckley was obviously an assistant coach. It was well documented that he's going to take over.
Yeah.
And I think it's well documented that Mick Malthouse didn't want to even leave the job. He made another grand final.
Yeah.
Was there any tension there? Like, did any tension spill out to the players or?
No, well, not really to the players, but I think how it sort of come about is sort of lost in the story a little bit. I think it was announced like probably halfway through 2010 that like Bucks would take over from Mick in 2 years or whatever it was, like halfway through. So then we end up winning the flag in 2010 and then losing a grand final in 2011. So here's this coach who potentially is like, he's at the top. And then it was worked out that Bucks would take over and Mick would go as like a director. I don't know exactly what the role was, but I guess it just like us being in the position we were, it was never going to work that, a coach had just lost to Granny and won a Granny the last 2 years and was just going to hand it over to someone else and sort of take the reins. So, Mick decided after the grand final that he wouldn't be hanging around the club that next year. But, I guess the sort of 18 months sort of leading up to that is sort of how it got lost. It's almost like, Bucks just sort of come in and, ripped it out of Mick's hands. But, I get, and for them, like Bucks had played under Mick the whole time. Like they'd spent a lot of time together. Potentially there could have been tension, and because I didn't play with Bucks as well. A lot of the players, like that, when he came in 2011, like he'd played with, because I think Bucks only finished up in 2007 or 8.
Yeah.
So a lot of the players had actually played with Bucks, and then now was coming to coach these guys. So potentially for those guys, there was definitely tension, and I think it's been well documented how Bucks was as a player. Is quite driven, and I think it probably takes some of that to be as good as what he was.
Yeah.
So, not potentially. I'd say that there definitely was some, sort of tension between players and coach for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Bucks coached you for a fair while. What did he coach you for? 10 years, just about.
Yeah. So 11 and finished up. Yeah, probably about 10, and he was an assistant in 2009 as well. So,
yeah, okay.
Or 10, I think. Yeah.
What's the relationship there like?
Yeah, good. Bucks will be at my wedding this weekend, so that's probably a good picture of how it is. Same thing. Like nearly spent more time with Bucks than I have my own brothers. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like I'm rocking up to work with him, like with him every day. You know, I've had a lot of great times with Bucks, and same as I was saying about Mick, like Bucks has gave me some great lessons along the way. So, you know, you don't speak to everyone and you don't catch up with everyone that you've come in contact with at the footy club, but yeah, clearly Bucks has had an impact on my life where I think, you know, I'd like to, you know, continue the friendship that we have.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
It's always good to have a good relationship with your coach. So.
Exactly right. He's probably the number one bloke you want the good relationship.
Yeah, that's right. So, we know that every job, like we've both got jobs because we're not lucky enough to play footy. But it's
That's funny.
it's you don't get along with everyone. Like at work, there's some people that annoy the piss out of me, but it is what it is. Is that the same at a footy club? You can't get along with everyone, but you have to be there for everyone because it's part of what you do.
Yeah.
Is there how's that? How does that play out for you?
Well, yeah, clearly there's a lot of different personalities, but everyone's at the footy club, and I'm sure it's the same at your work. Like everyone's there for the one purpose. Like we're there to win premierships. You're there to sell as much stock as you can and make as much money, I suppose. And if it means that, you've got to almost see through it. Like if there's someone that pisses you off all the time, you going over and smacking him or whatever it is definitely not getting you closer to win a grand final. Like that's the way you think of it. So,
professional relationship.
Yeah, well, it is, and like. Yeah, clearly you can't be best mates with everyone there. So, like people coming from, you know, different backgrounds and different upbringings and all that kind of things. But yeah, you're there for a job and you're trying to do that job. But I feel I can honestly say that I've never had someone there that I've actually like hated. Like I haven't hated anyone at the footy club. There's some people that, you know, we've probably got different likes and do different things outside of the footy club, but yeah, I can probably say that I've never hated anyone at the footy club, but I'm sure there's some blokes that haven't liked, you know, a lot of the players or some of the players that they've played with. So yeah, it's just I think conflict and things like that, you've just got to be able to push through it and find a way to work together, because if you don't, then you're both suffering, and so is everyone else who's trying to get the same result you are. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like smacking someone. I didn't say that. Okay, so over the years, you've just done 14 seasons.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. 14 pre-seasons. How hard is it to get up every year? How hard is it to keep going? Is it hard for you, or is it?
No, well, no, it's not. They're not easy, that's for sure. But I feel like there's a reason why you do it, and it's like, I don't know, it's almost like it's like you're testing yourself. It's like how far can you push yourself in some ways. It's like another new challenge. Like, you know, I'm not as quick and whatever as what I was in 20, but there's no doubt I'm stronger than what I was when I was 20. So, yeah, there's sort of like, yeah, different things to sort of set your goals towards. But, yeah, for me, like it's not hard. Like the one day I hate every year is the first day of preseason. Like I can never sleep, no matter what. Like I feel like I'm going in there and I'm going to get torn to shreds. Like, you know, I just think the worst. But once I get that first day of preseason out of the way, I'm Mickey Mouse. But yeah, it's like I enjoy testing myself and, you know, pushing the limits a little bit as well. Like, yeah, and like no one year's the same. Like there's always different people. We've got new fitness people in now as well who, as I said, like we don't do the 2K anymore. We do different tests. So, yeah, sometimes I don't enjoy it as much as I think I would like to, because I'm struggling or whatever it is. But, yeah, don't find it hard at all to rock up to another pre-season.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You haven't had to worry about too many injuries, have you?
No, and that's probably another thing. Like, I've been so lucky with injuries along the way. I broke my thumb. That's basically the worst thing I've done.
Yep.
Got suspended a couple of times, which hard to miss a few games for that. But I think the thumb's literally, like, I've had a few little niggles that maybe I've missed sort of 1 and 2 games before, but the thumb's been sort of the only thing I've missed it.
Got suspended.
Yeah.
Can't believe this little boy from Tally got suspended. First time he got suspended, you ran off the wing and hit someone.
Yeah.
Just hip and shouldered him. How many weeks do you get for that?
4 down to 3, which would have been about 8 down to 7 now.
It wasn't even that bad though, was it?
It was bad. It was the first centre bounce of the game. And like, I tell you right now, I wasn't going into the game to do what I did. And it was just when, like, bumping, like, you know, now you can't jump and bump.
Yeah.
Like, so, I mean, you obviously couldn't back then either, but that was like sort of that when that was sort of first coming out, and I ran in first bounce and jumped in the air and just clipped Maverick well with, like, it was like I didn't even feel it on my arm, sort of like jumped through and clipped him and dropped him. He got up, but then ended up going off concussed, and as soon as someone doesn't come back on, then you know you're in trouble. And that was shit as well. Like having to miss games of footy is the worst thing. But
so that's the same as like going out in the piss, really. Like you think, I've just let my team down again.
Yeah, and like people write shit about you. It's like, well, like I'm not a dirty player. Like people think, you know, it's like with anything, and it's like you do all this good work, but it takes one thing just to fucking wreck all that.
Yeah. And
that's the same thing. And then for the next however long, I always say, like, today's news is tomorrow's fish and chips wrapper. Sort of get over it pretty quick, but it's like things then sort of, you know, they're still always there. They bring up, oh, you did this back then, whatever, but they just sort of always sort of linger around.
It sort of shapes your past, though, really. It shapes who you are.
Yeah, exactly right.
As well.
Like,
so everyone makes mistakes.
Yep.
So
some are worse than others.
Yeah. If you haven't made a mistake, you're not learning.
Yeah, exactly
sort of thing.
right.
So, okay.
That's a good subject, talking about the rules.
Okay, you can go there.
We can go there?
Yeah.
You can only say what you're allowed to say, but how much has it changed the last couple of years? Like, even as a spectator, it's almost hard to follow now.
Yeah.
How hard is it playing footy for so long with what I would call some of the basic rules?
Yeah.
That you can't even understand that much when you're watching it. You think, like, it's got to be difficult to do this, don't do that, changes, and then halfway through the season it can even change again.
Stand.
Yeah, exactly.
Stand.
I don't even know what you're allowed to do anymore.
But sort of like I feel like there's always sort of tweaks in the game, and there's like I don't know if there is, I think there's like a rules committee, so their job is to, if they feel like rules need to be brought in, they do it. But like, I guess it sometimes it can get hard when, you know, like say they talk about like finals and they say, oh, you know, the umpires are really letting it go this week. It's like, well, how are we meant to know that the umpires are going to let it go this week and ping it the next week? Like, it's a rule, but then there's like wiggle room around that, which that's sort of, if the umpires come into the rooms like they used to and check your boots and said, we're going to let it go tonight, boys, then maybe that would be easier.
Yeah.
But when there's when there's wiggle room around the rules, and like, I actually feel so much for the umpires, like
hard job.
Oh,
they even look confused.
Hard. Yeah, and it must be so hard. Like they do more Ks than the players running around. They've got 80,000 people screaming at them. Like they're never gonna make a right decision, because if you make it for one team, the other team's pissed off.
Yeah.
So for them to actually be on top of everything, like you can understand why they make mistakes, because there's that many things going on in their head that it's impossible to get them all right. And the best a thing that's helped me a lot is the fact that you can't actually argue with umpires anymore, because I used to get caught up in because I know the game perfectly better than everyone else, of course. Like if it was in the back or something they didn't call it, I'd lose it, and I'd be like, now my attention's now drawn to the umpire, not what I need to be doing. So actually having that now in place, it's like, well, I can't change it. Just get on with it.
Yeah.
So, but that's why usually the rule changes come out at the start of pre-season. So then they'll give them to you. So you just train it, and everyone's got to do it. So that's why there's so many coaches and stuff now at footy clubs. Like they're so smart and they just work ways around rules as well. And that's why I think that they keep introducing new rules, is because the coaches are like outsmart them a little bit. Yeah,
that's interesting take on it.
How is your relationship with the umpires?
Oh, pretty good now. I think there'd be umpires who would have copped the mouthful off me a few times.
One copped a mouthful this year.
Did you?
When you got a 50-metre penalty and you're about 10 metres out and you're milking the clock. And
I was actually wrong. He was right.
Really?
Yeah. So
what?
That was a rule that I didn't know about, because now that you have like your 30 seconds to have your set shot.
Yeah.
And if they deem you to be
taking the piss,
then they're allowed to call play on, which I didn't know that. So I'm standing in the goal square, just not even bothering to have my shot, because I know that I've still got 20 seconds left.
Yeah.
And then he calls play on, and then I'm like, shit, I better kick it. Luckily, I kicked the goal, but then I'm like, that's not right.
Yeah.
And of course, I was right, but really I wasn't. And so I'm, going off my head, carrying on, and I was wrong. So
really?
Yeah, that is a rule, that if they deem you to be taking the piss and doing what I was doing, then they can call play on.
So this is where the bit I don't like though, is that some of the rules are left to interpretation.
Yeah,
like,
exactly right.
By the individual at each instance, whereas it's not black and white.
Yeah.
There's the line, don't cross it.
Yep.
It's, I reckon you're doing this, so I'm going to call it.
Yeah.
But for the next person, they might not, or they might give that person an extra 5 seconds.
Yeah.
They can change the game.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's frustrating. I'm only saying it's frustrating as a supporter and a spectator in the last half of the season.
Yeah.
I think I was like, just let's put the whistle away.
Yeah.
Some games, this week you do it, that week you don't. And
and I think, I think as well, like, media plays such a huge role in it as well. Like,
you can tell.
Yeah, I feel like some people like get the Herald Sun or they watch the news and think that that's fact. Like, that's it. We're like, so then people start following these things, and then like that, which is it's hard. And I mean that's their job, to sell papers and all that kind of thing. What they write isn't always right, but
no, it doesn't always need to be true. But it sells
exactly.
papers.
Sells papers, exactly right.
Yeah, it does steer a lot though. You can see that even in like some people's careers.
Yeah,
like the media can put a focus on them, good or bad.
Yeah,
and almost steer it a little bit.
Yeah,
it makes everyone else watch and follow that person.
You can see that this year happened at Collingwood this year with Jack Inovan.
Yeah, well, there's a perfect example.
It was circus, wasn't it?
Yeah. But
it
like
still is.
Yeah, it is. But it's like if the media don't, and I understand that like they need to sell papers, but it's like if they don't do it, then it's not created in a way. Like So and like a media is another thing that you've just got to, like anything, you learn to deal with, and you learn what to say at the right time, and that's why I think like they always interview footballers, but they always say the same thing. Like it's like respect the opposition, all that kind of stuff. It's like because half the time guys are worried that the one bad thing that you say is that's what's going to be going in the paper, not
blown up.
10
Stick
things.
with them forever.
When I say not all, like I shouldn't, because some of the media people are great, and like I do have like a good relationship, and I'll say g'day to them or whatever it is. So they're not all like that, but like anything, some of them can be.
Do you get media training through the club as a young bloke and everything, and does that continue? Yeah,
early days I did, but I guess like anything, the more you do it, sort of the more comfortable you get with it. But even like I hate having like cameras in my face and stuff. Like I just, you can't. Like I was saying about like when Mick's watching, you don't want to fuck up. It's like same the camera. It's like I'm thinking about what I'm saying, and then I start talking. I'm like, what am I talking about? So, but you just, it's like almost you've got a few things that you say, and you just
Yeah.
repeat it in different ways almost.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So they have people at the club that work closely, say, with this incident with Ginnivan this year.
Yeah.
Like they have specific people that will work with those players to really keep their head on their shoulders.
Yeah. So there's we've got, there'll be probably 2 or 3 like sort of media manager type people who like deal with the media and then sort of deal with like the in between. So usually they will know what's coming in the media before anyone else does, so they can. It's like, for example, if I was doing an interview, they would be like, here's a few points. We think these might be the questions.
Yep.
If you want to sort of answer them like this, then that's there. But I think they do a very good job of. And that's the thing, like, you've got to, like, if some media people, like, you just won't give them access to players or whatever it is. So, I think it's probably getting a little bit better, but it's still, like you were saying before about careers, like potentially it has ended people's careers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that young fella would have got looked after pretty well throughout that period by someone who would have just been like, ignore the press.
Sure. Yep, definitely.
Do this, don't do that.
Yeah, and even like everything, like things on your socials and all that kind of stuff, like guys get pulled up on it all the time.
Yep.
Maybe before it hits media or things like that. So, we're pretty looked after in that aspect, I think,
And given the culture at the club this year, he would have been in good hands with all the players too.
Yeah, but even still, like, there was an incident, I think it was sort of well publicised about after he won the Anzac Day medal, and like you were talking about, like going out and enjoying a few beers. Like that's all, he went out and had a few beers, but we had like a 6-day break and he wasn't meant to do that. So like, is it that bad? No, it's not, but it's like, these are things that are in place to, help us sort of win flags. So, but like, Jack's been at the club 5 minutes. So they're, like you're saying, like you learn from your mistakes and, things like that sort of shape the way you are. So,
do you see yourself as that senior guy now that will approach someone like that and go, hey, I've been here or done that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not, and I feel like that's my job is to do that. Like, I'm a senior guy at the footy club, and if I see things that I feel like I can have an impact with, and one I agree with, and I'll go and say well done, or some I'll be like, I don't agree with that. Like, I think you should do it this way, or whatever it is. I think that's also not only me about getting a kick every week. It's about sort of shaping the way everyone is around the place as well.
You get a bit of a kick out of
that. Don't know. Not. I guess when it's the taps on the back, maybe more so. But like part of me, because I actually have been in those situations, like I feel sorry for them because I know that they must be feeling like shit. And sometimes it is nice just to have someone come and wrap their arm around you and say, like, you're going to be all right. Like, you've made a mistake. We all do it, but we'll get through it together or whatever it is. And I think that's the best thing about footy clubs is like, if you do make a mistake, like there's so many people there to support you and get you through it.
Leadership's a massive part of football clubs now.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have training in that as well? Like
we did. We had Ray McLean, who done leading teams there for a long time. He's not at the footy club anymore, but so when I think, I can't even remember what year it was, but I got voted into the leadership group, and I was still, would have nearly been potentially like 9 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. I can't remember exactly what year. And Beamsy had been in the leadership group the year before and like hated it. And so I was best mates with Beamsy at that time, and when my name got read out as in like the top 5, then that would probably be the leadership group, and I was one of them. And of course, Beamsy was like, you'll hate it, there's too many meetings. So I was like, all right, I'm not doing it. But then later on, I spoke to Maxie, who was the captain, and Maxie's like, this will be such a good opportunity for you. So actually having that discussion with Maxie was the best thing, because I think me being in the leadership group, helped me grow as a person, and no doubt helped me, I think, be a better footballer as well. So, sometimes it's not always best to listen to your good mates. It's nice to hear from someone on the outside a little bit more. Yeah.
We spoke before about your relationship with your umpires.
Yeah.
You you must have had a pretty good relationship with him in 2018.
Yeah.
You've had a pretty good season. Got beaten in a grand final, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But Brownlow Medal, come runner-up.
Yeah.
How was that for you? Did you think you were going to get it? Or
Nah, I never thought I was going to get it. I was always obviously close. Tom Mitchell had an awesome year that year. Like, he was getting 50 posies every week. There was probably a stage where maybe I thought, I might be half. You can sort of tell, I reckon, early in a like vote count or something, sort of how the umpires are voting. And I think it was Anzac Day maybe. Adam Trelaw won the medal, and I ended up getting the 3 votes off the umpires. So I thought, maybe the voting might go my way a little bit. But then, yeah, I sort of finished off the year pretty well as well. And then I think he got 3 in the last round that sort of sealed it for him. And then I ended up getting 3 as well in the last game. So it was tied at the end, but probably was never going to win it. But
yeah, okay. Did a pretty good effort to get there.
That's
though.
very close.
What was it, 24 votes or something like that?
24, I think. Yeah. Yep.
You've won a couple of Copeland trophies.
Yep.
How's that for you? Okay, so we say we won 2. So you won a 17 and you won an 18.
Yeah.
How many times have you been in the top 5?
Alicia's brother just told me this not long ago.
Is that many? You can't remember.
Yeah.
Maybe other than the 2 that I've won, probably 6 maybe.
6.
6?
So you've been there 8 times.
Potentially. That could be wrong.
I don't know the stats on that. But
I don't know either.
I reckon it's pretty good. I remember watching a few of them, and so you got pretty good at speeches.
Yeah.
Used
Usually by that time I've
had
had
a few frothies.
had a few
few
beers.
karmas.
Yeah, exactly right. Always helps.
What was that season 2018 like?
Probably other than the year I just had, my favourite year as well. Like, very close with it. It was just, I don't know, like at that stage as well, getting in the later years of my career and like talking about how when I was, when we did win those flags and sort of like I wasn't sort of making the most of it and taking it all in. That 2018 year, like I remember like the whole parade and like everything, I just really like sort of sat back and like just took it all in and enjoyed it for what it was. And although we lost, like I had that year was so enjoyable. Like, just sharing it with guys who, are all there for the same reason you are, all totally invested. And, we played some awesome footy that year. And, although we didn't get to hold the cup up, it was still, right up there.
Pretty good year for you, like second in the Brownlow, made All-Australian as well that year.
Yeah.
You came out and beat probably the flag favourites in the prelim.
Yeah.
And like that would have been a pretty crazy crowd and everything, wouldn't it? Like,
yeah, that was huge. And no one gave us a chance that game. It's like the few prelims that I've won, like we've had like such good starts, and it's like it's never over until it's over, but like before the actual siren, like we've got time to actually sort of soak it in, and that game was, that was on a whole another level. That was one of the more enjoyable games, just being out on that far wing where I usually spend most of my time. Same thing, just like looking at the crowd and hearing how late, because now the Collingwood chant's like the best it's ever been. Everyone gets into it. Like just hearing, I reckon that's when it really kicked off, was that 2018 like prelim. It really sort of got going, and they're the moments that like you feel so lucky to be in the position you are. And as I say, let's hope we can have a few more of them.
2020, obviously you got suspended for your thing, but you only played 9 games that year.
Yeah.
Obviously that was the COVID.
Yeah.
Even if you played that when you got suspended, you would have only played 13 or 14.
Yeah.
What was the story behind there?
I come home to be with me pregnant girlfriend at the time. So, clearly I already knew, you know, in the season that there was going to be no one planned for COVID.
No.
So it would have been fine if we were playing at the G. I could have played and went to the hospital, whatever it was. So, talking about me, even that, like me going home to my pregnant partner to have, you know, the birth of my first child, like people were saying that's not the right thing to do, you know. I'd just let them down by going out in the piss like a few months earlier, you know, I should be at that footy club, you know, whatever like that. That's just, you know, things you can't control. But for me, it was never like it was always, I was going home. There was like little bits of talk because like 2018, 19 and 20, we still made the finals that year. Like you don't want to miss games of footy, but there was little talks about maybe, you know, bringing Leisha up to Brisbane, Queensland to have the baby and things like that. But like she'd had the obstetrician in Melbourne that she'd been with the whole time. And like looking back on it now, it's sort of silly to actually think those kind of ideas were floated about. But Matilda was 2 weeks old. And the finals were, because if I went back, I would have had to do 2 weeks quarantine again. And at this stage, Queensland wouldn't let me come to Queensland because all their sort of hubs have been done. So one of the options was that I'd go to Darwin in one of those donga things. Like,
little camp.
Yeah, little camp thing for 2 weeks. With Alicia and Matilda, who's 2 weeks old. 2 weeks old. Like it's bad. I was at 11, no, it was about 10:30 on the Saturday morning. We were going to fly at 1 p.m. that day. And it got to like 11 o'clock and I was like to and fro with Walshy, the footy manager at the time, and I was like, nah. Because I had a lot of time to think about it too. Like my head was like, should I go? Should I not? Should I? And then I'm like, all right, I'm told Walshy, Alicia was like, if you want to go, we'll come with you. And so I was like, Walshy, I want to come. And they had organised, because there was no flights or anything, like a private jet for me, Alicia and Matilda to fly to Darwin. And it was, about 11 o'clock and I rang Walsh and I was like, nah. He always said to, he's like, don't, like, we're not pushing you to do anything. And then I just rang and I said, nah, it's too hard. Like, I don't want to do it. And it was the best decision I made.
Yeah.
Like, just to, one, put them both through it. And two, I don't even think I was guaranteed to play a game in the end as well.
Yeah, okay.
Because I think the day that I would have got out was the day that we beat West Coast over there. So
yeah, you mightn't have got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, wow. That's what I was going to say. So all the people yapping were from the outside of the club. No,
Yeah,
no one internally
exactly.
was fine.
Exactly right. Nothing from
That's
the
good.
club. Yeah.
Yeah, full support.
Yeah, exactly right. That's another good saying. Full support of the club. That's one that all the boys use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's true because you always get nothing but support from the footy club. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
It's interesting that, like, when you say that sort of stuff, the support, a lot of coaches will say inside our four walls.
Yeah.
Is that what it's like inside those four walls? Everyone in that club has got everyone's back, and it's just how it is.
Yeah, for sure.
That includes partners and kids and everyone else.
Yeah, and that's like the one thing I miss most about like country footy and stuff is like, you know, you have like the netball and the footy, and then you have sort of like the functions and that after, like the whole family. Where now we have that sort of feel at Collingwood. I reckon it's like if we played in Melbourne, I'd always have Matilda, like if she was at the footy, like she'd sing the song with us. We'd always have sort of like after match functions for the partners and all that kind of stuff. Where sort of like early days it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
But now, like if I feel like if you're a part of that footy club, then like we're all in it together. Like
Yeah.
I reckon I've noticed that even watching footy on the weekends, like you see more kids involved.
You do. I think
Like-
Hawthorn probably started that with their 3 premierships.
Yeah.
They just had kids everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. How good is it
I
to
think-
see though?
I think everyone has then thought,
Because before that, it was so like
Yeah.
back in the rooms after the game was so
Yeah.
serious, like as in it was just the men's room sort of
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
Now there's kids and
Everywhere.
shit running around,
Yeah.
and you're like, how good is
It
this?
gets to a stage, I reckon, where you have your meetings and they've got to be like, shut up.
Yeah.
Everybody out there. Like, we can't even hear what's
That's
going
so
on in
good.
here.
That's so good.
2021, bit of a shocker.
Yeah.
I think you finished 17th. So you've come from 8th where you lost. You won the
First final.
elimination
Yeah.
final or whatever it was, and then you lost you got smacked in the semi-final. And then 2021 rolls around, you come 17th.
Yep.
That must be pretty tough.
Yeah. It's sort of like this year we had like a unbelievable amount of close games where we come out on top.
Yeah.
And I feel like in 21, like we were on the other side of a few that, like, the first one was, I don't know if it was like round 3 or whatever it was. We lost to Brisbane with a kick after the siren. And I feel like that was like our start of sort of those close. We lost to Port by a point too that year. Whereas like it's like now I think like the competition's so close as well. So like 6 points one side is like it's huge. Like if I don't know the exact stat, but there was a stat that like we'd won 11 games by like a combined of like 80 something points, which is like unbelievable. So in 21, like we were unlucky in a way, but I guess you deserve to be where you are. And we finished 17th, but for me, like we weren't the 17th worst team.
Yeah.
So to have, the year that we've had this year, sort of shows that a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, funny, like the start of this year, I caught up with my manager and he told me, he's like, yeah, yous will be finishing bottom 4 this year. And I was like, yeah, righto. And then, have like lunch with him 2 weeks ago and like, do you remember you told us you're going to finish bottom 4? But that's like, it's just like, it's so close as well. Like, to like we finished what 3rd or 4th, however you look at it. The rise definitely didn't surprise me as much as what probably would have surprised a lot of other people. Yeah.
So in 21, Buckley walks away 3/4 of the way through the season.
Yeah.
Was probably going to get sacked because he was having a shocking season.
Yeah.
Harvey takes over.
Yep.
Then new coach is appointed.
Yeah.
What's he like?
Absolute ripper.
Yeah.
He's one bloke you should get on this podcast, I reckon.
Well, if you can tee that up, that'd be great.
I'll do my best to tee that up.
We'll be happy with that.
Yeah. He's an absolute ripper. And clearly I get asked this question a lot, but it's like, I feel like a coach's role almost is to like create an environment for blokes to be able to turn up and just be themselves. And, when the environment allows guys to do that, then, that's when you do the best. Like if you're rocking up to train and you're not wanting to do something, you don't want to be there, then you're not going to be playing your best footy. And I feel like that's what Fly's done this year. He's been a big driver in like that whole family thing, like bringing everyone to get together. He's got a little daughter, Charlie, that like he talks about all the time. He's obsessed with her, like most dads are with their kids, and he's just a really good person and like makes not just the players, but like makes everybody feel involved at the footy club. And it's like, as I was saying, like you don't just rock up, but like to where you are, there's like people over in the admin, like sponsorships, all this kind of stuff. They do their job so that we can be, in the best position we can to go out there and win games of footy. And I think Fly's been good at bringing light to that as well for, guys that, probably don't even think about that kind of stuff. So to hear from, everyone that works at the footy club, it's good. And like the club gives out like side-by-side awards, which is not, for the players, it's for staff and all that kind of stuff. So for, I'm sure staff to be able to win awards like that would, mean the world to them.
Get some recognition.
And
be part of the family.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's like, it's always like, if I feel like there's never been more people in our meetings. It's like, if you want to be in our meetings and you're a part of the footy club, then come into our meetings. Cool. They're like, it's for everyone.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
He's obviously a massive believer in winning. We act like winners will be winners.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's is that what's got you over the line so many times this year? Like it's,
and like you were saying before about like people, if you haven't made mistakes, then you're not learning. Like he always talks about like make a mistake, like don't worry. Like people, it's like what I've learned as well, like over the last few years is like we actually like putting all your focus and like worrying about shit that just like doesn't need to be worried about. So like things like make a mistake or whatever it is, like just getting over it as soon as you can and worrying about something that you can control, because a lot of the times you doing your head over things that you've got no control over, and it's not helping anyone. So Jackie Lauder, who's a sports psych at the Footy Club, like does a power of work with all the boys, and after every week we sort of sit down and go through like how mentally were you out there? Like, do you remember things when things weren't going away? How did we react? All that kind of thing. And I definitely believe that in those close games, because we'd been in them for one a lot and had got a lot of experience in it, but actually like sitting down after a game and like thinking, how did you feel? Like
analyze it.
Yeah, and like and then hearing other guys talk, it's like, well, then you can sort of get a grip on how he's feeling. And we just thought we did a lot of work on sort of that mental side of it. But I guess having your own sort of shit sorted as well then allows you to be able to help others, because at times, like, no one's perfect out there, and there's some times that you do get sort of stuck in a rut. You haven't had a kick for a quarter, whatever. But it's like, is me having a sook about it, complaining, going to help anyone? And it's not. So it's like, what can I do? It's like, it might be, putting someone in the right position or whatever it is, just to get yourself out of your own head. So, I feel like actually reviewing those close games and things that we'd been in was no doubt a reason why when we actually got to them we were able to perform, because we'd been in those positions before.
There's obviously a huge belief that even if you're 20 points down going into the last, 25 points down, we're still going to come here. We're going to come.
Yeah.
So no one could put you away other than Sydney towards the end, not the prelim, the one before.
Before that,
no one could really put you away.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like from the outside looking in, they're going to come.
Yeah.
They're going to come.
Yeah. And it's like, that's like, it'd get to 3/4 time and like 4 goals down. Carlton, the last game against Carlton, it's like you feel different, but like 3/4 time at Carlton, I thought, no, we're fucked here. I feel like we're not going to do this one.
Yeah.
And then like we kick a few goals and it gets me. It's like, fucking hell, like we're coming again here.
Yeah.
And then everyone, like, it's just like it snowballs. Everyone, it's funny, like Nick Dacos has been there for 1 year, and like he would be coming in at 3/4 time, like down by 5 goals or whatever, and he'd be like, we've got him here, boys. Like, we've got him. It's like, really? But then it's like things like that just gets everyone up, and it's like, well, yeah, it's just like the belief that we had in those games, as I said, because you've been in them before. It's amazing. But, you just get a couple of goals, and then like the crowd getting involved as well. Like, there's no doubt that they help. Like, some of those close finishes. Yeah, I probably won't experience like that many close games for the rest of my career, but I've had like all in one season. It was unbelievable. Yeah.
Prelim final this year. Like, obviously you lost the first one to Geelong, but only by a goal.
Yeah.
And you like, I'm thinking, and I don't even barrack for Collingwood, but I follow you a fair bit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, geez, they've nearly done that. Like, Geelong are by far the best side in the comp, by far.
Yeah.
If they can get to that granny, they'll do it, because the belief is so huge.
Yeah.
I think the shit part for you this year is that you had to play in Sydney.
Yeah.
Which I think is a shit ground.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't be allowed to play there, in my opinion. But even that though, like they play that ground really well.
Yeah, they do.
And you guys were down again, but it's like, here we go. Here they come.
And it was always like, because we played there like 3 weeks before, and we played shit. And even like leading up to the prelim, like obviously the lines are marked, like it was marked the same size as what the Sydney ground was. So we trained it all week. And just like took a few things out of it. But yeah, to your point, like, it's just like, it's actually like amazing. Like, you just get this feeling, and it's like, fuck, we're coming again. And it's like, it's hard not to like get yourself up for that.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what a little bit of self-belief, and you get one, and then you get two, and then there's no doubt you can tell, like, I don't know what's worse when when we're up and about, like, bang, how good that feeling is, or it's when you see like the opposition, you go like, oh fuck, like that's when it's like,
we've got them.
Yeah, we got them here.
Yeah.
So we experienced that a few times this year, and it was bloody good fun.
Yeah. In that prelim, you kicked a goal in the last quarter.
Yeah.
You had about 0.000% like chance the actual time to put it on your boot.
Yeah.
What goes through your head in that situation? Is it just
nothing really?
Is it just muscle memory?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And that's why like you train so much, like you do all this stuff is so that, you know, when that time comes, you want to be like as well prepared as you can, that you don't let that chance slip. And I had no time to think. It's like it's almost like you train it. Potentially I've been in this position before, so I know what to do. And like, as you said, I just grabbed it and almost tried to like, because he was right in my face, like kick it around him a little bit. And I don't know, he talked like momentum, it just flushed it. Yeah. And then like you can probably tell by a look on my face, like it surprised me that it went through. Yeah. And then I think there was still like 2.5 minutes to go in that. And then we had another couple of cracks at it, but yeah, in the end we couldn't get there. But same thing. Like it's just because like you're marked on like winning the flag really. Like Geelong had the successful year, but like we had a fucking unreal year. Yeah. Like we had such a good year. Yeah. And in a way, potentially it's like fast tracked us a little bit, because you know no one probably thought that we were going to be any good this year, and you know we sort of in our own sort of belief we knew that we could, but then you know young guys have got belief maybe earlier than what they would have. So I'm very optimistic, and you know we've obviously brought in some players this year as well. So time's now hopefully.
How good is Nick Dacos?
Yeah, absolute star.
Like you'd have to say that like McRae obviously brings great energy to the group, brings everyone a part of it. Yeah. But when you've got an 18-year-old kid who's like jumping around before the game and everything like that, like a peanut. Like realistically what you do in under 16s and 15s at country footy. Yeah. And like it's crazy. You look at him and go, what are you doing, man? Yeah. Does he make you feel like, holy shit, we're, you know?
Yeah. It's infectious as well. Like, he's 18, but like, you know, I talked about when I thought I knew that he's good enough. Like, he knows he's good enough. He's 18, he comes straight in. It's like, well, why can't he be as good as he is? Like, he's got obviously a lot of self-belief. Like he talks a lot out there. Like he's, you know, he's putting guys in the right spots. A lot of times he's calling for the footy. I mean, you want it in his hands as well because he's such a good user. But he's unreal. He's so good. And, you know, some people probably think he's a little bit cocky and arrogant, but I think there's
you have to be, don't you?
Yeah, well, and that's it. Like he knows he's good, but he's good, and you sort of need to be like that. So
okay. Who's the most? Who's the best footballer you've played with and against?
Pendle's definitely with. I don't like. He just. I mean, you guys have watched him play.
He's
like
amazing.
He just makes everything look so easy, and like there's no, it's no fluke that he's the player he is because he puts in a lot of work. But like it's like even now, like I think he's 34. Like he doesn't look like he's slowing down at all, and he's like in that sort of like 2018 period, like when potentially like the leadership at the footy club wasn't as, you know, good as it needed to be. Like everyone looks to Pendles. And like I was that person as well. It's like when things are going bad, like you look to your leaders, and like Pendles would always be the one that would like get everyone, you know, that you just need to watch him almost go about it, and he sort of just drags guys along with him. But he's a star, and no doubt he's got still plenty more in him, I reckon.
I reckon too.
Yeah. Hope so.
Yeah.
Who's the biggest that you've played against?
I've seen Chris Judd play a pretty good game against us at the G for Carlton. I wouldn't say he's the greatest player, but I remember against Carlton, Jared Waite, they've ended up flogging us, but like he was unstoppable. Like when he was at his prime, he was good. Yeah, okay. Just so athletic, tall, could mark it. He put on a clinic one day that I definitely remember. Like Buddy Franklin, clearly, is an absolute star as well. And but yeah, there's been
heaps, isn't
heaps.
Yeah.
Even like someone like Trent Cotchin, I really admire the way he sort of goes about his footy. There was probably a stage early on where, like everyone else sort of has his critics or whatever, but I reckon as soon as he got the captaincy role at Richmond, he just turned into this aggressive, will do anything for his team, courageous, hard at it as anyone was. And he's someone that sort of, it's been good to watch.
Yeah, okay. What sort of boots does Cochin wear?
He's a Nike man.
You got something behind this story, haven't you?
So this man, Steele Sidebottom, has got a fascination with boots.
Has he?
What boots did Luke Hodge wear?
Puma.
Oh, as in fascination, he knows everyone's boots.
You pick a player and ask him. Pick one of your boys. You're a Demon supporter. Pick a Demon.
Viney.
Viney's a Nike boy as well. I know that.
Track.
Nike.
It's getting weird.
What did Sam Mitchell wear?
Sam Mitchell, he was I think everyone in that sort of
Oh, they're all Puma.
Yeah, they're all Puma.
Yeah, Hawthorn's Puma.
Can I ask what the story is behind the fascination?
Just love footy boots. You always used to want the
just
footy
from
boots,
when you were a kid.
Yeah, but even I don't know, I just it's I think if I look at someone, I can tell a lot by them by their shoes or
So
something.
when he's got to head over the ball, he's watching for the
looking
boots.
boots,
Who is it?
Yeah, I just always have a look what boots they're wearing. So I don't know. It's just
So the story there, Ben, is that Richo did Matthew Richardson did an interview with Steele ages ago. It was a couple of years back now.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago now.
yeah.
And he talked about that, and he would have reeled off 20 players, and he knew every one of them.
He actually caught me out on one too, the bastard.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's classic.
It's pretty freaky.
That's different.
Rust, you've been so generous with your time. It's fantastic. What's life after football? I mean, I know you got a couple of years to still go, and hopefully more.
Yeah.
But what are you thinking down the track? Do you want to stay in the game?
I don't know. To be honest, I'm sitting here right now. I don't know what life after footy looks like right now. As I said, I've never had a job. All I know is footy. So I don't know. Part of me sort of wants to experience life outside of footy as well. But yeah, I that's another thing. It's well, what am I going to do? Because I've had I did a pre-apprenticeship thing in carpentry, which once COVID and that sort of come along, just sort of got pushed out. Yeah. Never finished it. I've done a few sort of I did some work experience landscaping, but then now I'm 31. It's do I want to be going and get on the tools when I'm finished footy? I don't think so. So yeah, I don't I'm. A lot of people, I've never experienced obviously leaving footy, but a lot of people are daunted by it probably as well. But I feel like I'm pretty well set up. I've, done reasonably well with my money that I feel like that I don't need to, once I'm delisted or whatever it is, that I don't need to rush out the door and find a job the next day. So I'm not daunted by it at all. I think I'll be fine to be able to find a job, but part of me just also wants to just put all my energy into footy as well. I know there's so much downtime that it would have been great to do something outside, but I'm a footy head. I love footy. I'll watch footy even if we're not in it, whatever it is. So I think I'd be able to get a job maybe somewhere in the footy industry, but who knows?
So you wouldn't mind coaching or something like that?
I don't know if I'd want to be a coach at AFL level. I think the hours that them guys pump out are unbelievable and should be paid more probably than what they are.
Certainly assistant coaches should be paid
more. So, don't know, maybe a development coach or something like that. But I guess having Matilda as well, maybe, coaching younger kids along the track, whatever it is. But sitting here right now,
No idea.
I might need to learn how to put a bull bar on a car.
I was going to say, he's always got a job going, this bloke.
I don't know if you'd have to put the bull bar on. Maybe you could come and buy half me out sort of thing. We'll be partners or something. So
Yeah, righto.
by the time you finish, I'll be old. So no aspirations to come and play country footy. Your brother might be still rolling around by then. Tyson's nearly 39. So.
I would. Talking about coaching, I'd actually love to play country footy somewhere, but I wouldn't be disappointed if I played 5 more years at Collingwood and my body was completely ruined, like that I couldn't get there. But I'd love to be involved in a country footy club somehow again for sure. Yeah. And have my kids down the track, I'd love them to, because Melbourne footy clubs are a lot different to what the country footy clubs here, and I'd love for my kids maybe one day, maybe not live down here, but even if I travelled or whatever it was, to be able to, show my kids what it was like, because they were the best days, going to the footy at 8 o'clock and not leaving until 8 p.m, like just being at the footy all day and go home and then footy's on TV, like just footy. So.
You don't reckon you'd ever move back to the country?
Don't know. I would never say that. When I first moved to Melbourne, I would say I'd always move back to Shep. Yeah. Always. But now, right now I won't move back to Shep. Leisha's got an awesome job in Melbourne.
Yep.
And I think we're pretty well set up to be in Melbourne for the next however long. So.
Yep. She's City girl?
Nah, she's from Shep as well. So.
Oh, really? Yeah,
okay. So like her family's here, obviously mine are.
Yeah, okay.
And they're a bit like Melbourne's 2 hours away, so it's like
it's not that far.
Yeah, so you can just jump in the car if you need to and come home and see them. And as I said, we've got a place in Tallygaroopna now as well, which is like right in the middle. So it's nice just to go there and get out of Melbourne sometimes. And mum or whatever might be able to just meet us there, and which is a little bit better than driving the full 2 hours. So, I think we've got a good little system in place that, I think can hopefully work for plenty more years to come.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You got any more for him, man?
Any more?
You got any more questions for him?
All right. Have I got any
I've
more
got
questions?
3.
But
if you've got one, I'll let you
mate,
go first.
I hope he doesn't sweat as much as some of the guests when you ask these questions.
All right. We always finish the podcast here with 3 questions.
You told me before if I didn't want to answer questions, I didn't have to.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen.
I'll tell you now that he won't let you get away with that on this.
All right. So first question: what was your first car?
I had a VT Commodore. It was like the 2000 Olympic edition, actually.
I remember that one.
Silver one. Yeah.
I remember that. Did you have a name for it?
No, I actually didn't. No.
Okay.
No.
What's your favourite food?
Probably a chicken parm.
Chicken parm.
Yeah.
A parma or a palmy?
Parma.
Parma.
Yeah.
Good old.
I do love McDonald's as well.
Really?
Yeah.
How does that go with your diet for footy?
Occasionally, maybe after a game. That's probably about it.
About all.
Yeah, so just on the way home, call through.
Gets himself a Happy Meal.
Yeah.
Well, he's just ran 40
treat myself. So if I'm ever going to eat it, that's probably the time to eat it, straight after the game.
Yeah, okay. All right, last one. If you could invite 3 people for dinner, any era, dead or alive, who would it be?
I think I'd love to have Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
One. Someone maybe like Adam Sandler would be good to have.
That'd be a cracker, wouldn't it?
And then
funny.
Even maybe like Shane Warne.
Yeah, that'd be good too.
That would be good.
Did you ever meet Warnie?
I reckon I met him once. Yeah. Yep. Braden Maynard's actually good friends with his daughter, so I've met his daughter a few times.
Yeah.
But I only was fortunate enough to meet him once. But yeah,
what a superstar.
Yeah, the king.
Sadly missed.
Exactly.
So, thank you, Steele. Much appreciated for coming on.
Pleasure.
We really do appreciate it, actually.
Yeah.
So we know what you did to get here and everything like that. It's fantastic.
That's all right.
So obviously, you've got another 2 years on your contract.
Yeah.
Hopefully another 2 after that.
Be nice.
Hopefully you get every game and you hit another clause and it's just, yep, no worries, sign you up for another 2.
We're about to rent our house, so I'll probably need another couple more years to pay for it.
Fantastic. So thanks, mate. It's very much appreciated.
No worries. Thanks.
You've had an unbelievable career, and it's still, as we said, hopefully
Still
we've got
going.
a few more to go.
Collingwood's on the up too, don't worry.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
I'll do my best to try and get the coach to come on.
Yeah, that'd be
Why
great.
not?
So I'll just pass his number on when you leave. Before we go, Season 3 of Two Blokes from Down Under, the footy season's brought to us by Shepparton Volkswagen, the Golden Valley's #1 choice for new Volkswagen vehicles, plus the highest quality used cars, service and parts. Get in and see Ewan and his team at Shepparton Volkswagen, 325 to 329 Midland Highway, Shepparton. And this episode's brought to us by Shepparton Denture Clinic. With over 30 years' experience, you can rely on Brad and his team to fully understand your needs and what they can offer you for the best possible denture solutions. You can find them at 122 Archer Street, Shepparton, because healthy smiles leave a lasting impression. There you go, guys. Another episode of Two Blokes from Down Under with the man himself, Steele Sidebottom. So can't wait for the next one. See you later, boys.
Gotta show him I can still rap, though. Now I'm in the game, I was on the bench. First I was renting, now I'm collecting rent. Run it up. First it with the Beamer, now I want the Benz. Spending all the bag like, here I go again.